This is the Weber Workshops Moulin at $580 US a set and 320 per grinder. This is the Mannkitchen Cannon, and these are $199 USD each. I have in front of me probably the world's two most expensive pepper grinders that consumers could buy. But ultimately, which one is the best one for you to spend your money on? This video is just gonna be an overview of design, materials, what I liked, what I didn't like, and putting them in a test head-to-head to compare grind quantity and quality. In-depth review of these two grinders, I've already done those, which you can check out after this video. Let's talk about design. These are both machined out of a one-piece anodized space-grade aluminum. They are heavy-duty, they're nice in the hand. There's really nice quality, something that's heirloom, something that will last you forever. Definitely a buy once for lifetime type of product. They both have really great big openings to refill. This one's got a push-top mechanism. This one's just got a magnet you pull up and down. The magnet stays on very well. They used to have problems at the early Kickstarter, but they've corrected all of that, including the ones that I have right now. You can lift it up without any worries. The way that they look, that's a personal aesthetic choice, depending on what you like. I personally like the more industrial looking Weber Workshops, but that is just me, that is very subjective. This reminds me kind of like a rook, I think is the chess piece. It's not terrible looking, it's just, you know, side to side. I like this, this is just definitely more my aesthetic. Both pepper grinders have high carbon stainless steel burrs, so they're very, very similar and both very high quality. Now for the salt burrs, they take slightly different approaches. The Mannkitchen Cannon replaces a lot of the stainless steel parts with titanium and ceramic. I don't know if the burrs are ceramic, but I suspect that they are. And in their FAQ, they mentioned that the corrosion resistant materials are also user replaceable. The Weber Workshops Moulin uses zirconium for their grinding burrs and bearings. To adjust the grind size, you have this outer ring and you can adjust it from the outside, which I really like because I don't need to get my hands dirty. On the Mannkitchen Cannon, the adjustment is on the bottom, very much like most typical pepper grinders, I would say. I prefer this way of adjusting, but this one also works. I only prefer it because I have this one. If I had one or the other, I wouldn't have anything to compare head to head. Now, there was an issue I found when adjusting grind sizes that things would get out of line with the burrs on the Weber Workshops Moulin, or that things would kind of get stuck or be harder to grind, and that was a really big negative. But then I realized that when you're adjusting the grind size on this, you are putting it upside down in order to adjust the grind dial. So I started doing that on my Weber Workshops Moulin. For both the salt and the pepper, it just takes a second to readjust. You now put it upside down and adjust the grind setting. I find that works really well because then all the pepper falls down here and the salt, and it just loosens up the burrs for you to make the adjustments, because peppers are not like coffee. They're not as uniform. And pepper, you're just like crushing it and it's kind of doing what it's gonna do, and they're all kind of a little bit different. Do this and you'll have no more problems. I do really like that the grind adjustment ring on the outside here is on the outside and has numbers. They do give me a little bit of an idea when I do go back and forth, whereas here it's arbitrary and you have no reference. I personally like to have my grinds at a more medium coarseness. So if there is a reason for me to go super fine, if I'm making soups, then I can do that, and then I'll usually readjust back. So that does make it a little easier here to keep track than it does here. Here I'll have to just kind of remember the number of clicks. I also don't mind if I have to grind, look at what I'm grinding and go, well, it's not really the size I wanted, and do it again. Also, when you're adjusting the grind size on here, sometimes you do have to hold the top when you're grinding, because if not, it'll start turning with the top. Not a big deal, but we'll mention it. The Weber Workshops Moulin can hold 3.1 ounces, whereas the Mannkitchen Cannon can hold 2.3 ounces. Either one is absolutely fine because, first of all, it's super easy to refill. They both have very wide openings. I've not had an issue with either one. There's not one that's really better than the other. I can even fill it directly with a big bulk box. It's still a very large quantity for either, much more than the Peugeot grinder that I used to have. So if you have to refill this handful more times, then, you know, it's not a huge deal in reality. But if you're a family of, I don't know, 10 people, or you have friends over all the time and everybody's a big pepper fiend, then maybe that is a reason to go for the one with larger capacity. It always depends on your use case. I do feel that the Moulin grinder did factor in a little bit more interesting look in the design and the adjustment ring. They did, however, have this different design system with this cap, which makes you use this product a little bit differently. This is very much a pick up and go type of product, and with the caddy, that also makes it convenient to bring it to the table. This also makes it really convenient to bring to the table, but then you do have the base, so you could always just hold on to it and then use it like a regular grinder. This also would prevent a little bit of a mess, although right now it's still making a mess. And then I do find that these are easier to travel with. So when I do travel with my grinders, because I do that. I am that person. I am a foodie. I definitely do bring my grinders. I bring my own kitchen knives. It's what a joy to travel with me. This one I never travel with. So there is that bonus. It can be versatile in that sense. Passing it around the table could be a little bit more annoying. I do find that in general, there's just grinds that tend to fall out of here more than on this one. I don't know why. I can't figure that out. It's just the way that the burrs are or something. So the cap is good for keeping it mess free. It's not the most sturdy base. I usually holding it like this and it balances pretty well, but it easily could get knocked over. You gotta be careful with that. If you do want the base, you could always just use this like this and have it like a regular grinder. When you put them next to each other, this is shorter when you don't have the base cover, although there is no rubber down here and there is rubber down here, so just having it on a table, I don't love having this just directly on a table, but I mean the base doesn't. There is no rubber on this one. I'm gonna be focusing the video on the pepper grinder specifically because the salt grinders are great companion pieces, but ultimately the pepper grinder is really the more important part. I put these two head to head. This is the second time I've done this test because I filmed an entire full finished video head to head with other grinders and did a full comparison. If you're interested in that, comment in the description down below. Maybe if there's enough people, I'll edit and release it. It was good for me to do the test a second time to really be sure. It is pretty impossible to get them exactly the same, but because I did the test twice now and the results were the same both times, I can say it's pretty conclusive. I adjusted to test and compare coarse, medium, and fine. I cranked 10 times without thinking about technique, just grinding like I would normally. Another thing to note is that they both grind slightly more or less uniform, and peppercorns are so diverse. The burr geometry of these two and how they're crushing, it's gonna be a little different, the result. For the coarse grind setting, it looked like this. The Weber Workshops Moulin grinded 5.1 grams. Mannkitchen Cannon, 2.6 grams. And I also did it a second time because I felt it was quite low. Then it went to 3.0 grams. So either way, the Weber Workshops Moulin definitely had more output. And in grinding, the Moulin, I was getting stuck sometimes and I could still grind, but I was getting stuck a little. The Mannkitchen Cannon was absolutely easier, but the Moulin had way more pepper, almost double. Mannkitchen grinder had a bit more uniform grinds compared to the Moulin for the coarse one, but this is also, once again, not coffee, so it's not a huge deal unless like uniform texture is really something that you care for. For me, not, but if it is, that's something to think about. And then for the medium grind, the Weber Workshops Moulin ground at 4.2 grams and 10 cranks, and the Cannon was 1.9 grams. For the Moulin, once you start going, it's quite easy to keep grinding, and they were both about uniform, about the same. The Mannkitchen Cannon was, once again, still a pleasure and easy to grind, effortless. Now, when it came to the fine grind size, the Moulin was 1 grams for 10 cranks, and the Mannkitchen Cannon was 0.6 grams in 10 cranks. Now, the conclusion that I can make from running the test 2 times now, the Weber Workshops Moulin grinds more pepper, hands down, no discussion. It is a little harder to crank, I think because it has more pepper output. It's got more power. And the Mannkitchen Cannon, it's got less power, but it's way easier to crank. So it really depends on what's more important for you. I also do find that when my hands are wet, this one always just works because it's easier, whereas this one I have to grip harder if my hands are wet. Sometimes it's not really working and I gotta really make sure my hands are dry enough in order to manipulate this and handle this. I feel like these two things have a correlation, more power versus ease of crank. So which one do you prefer more? I don't know if this is accurate, but for some reason in my head I'm saying like, this is a Lamborghini with a big motor or something, and this is a Ferrari, and it's got more fine tuning. I also don't know if anything I'm saying is accurate. I watch like 2 Netflix shows about cars and I think I'm a car expert all of a sudden, when I really don't think I'm a car expert. So don't at me in the comments. I have no idea what I'm talking about. And also, because the Mannkitchen Cannon is just easier to grind in small quantities, I feel like this one is better. You have more control, and because it does output less, it just makes it a little bit easier to pepper your one person 2-3 egg breakfast. You can still do it with this, but I feel like I have to control my hand so much to not overly grind and like do a full turn, because if I do a full turn, I'm gonna have way too much pepper, which I love pepper, but on a Sunday morning eggs, it'd be a little bit too much of a kick for me. But if I am making cacio e pepe, I definitely wanna go with this, because I can just grind so much. If I wanna grind a big roast, you know, and put a lot of pepper on it, hands down would be this one. If I wanna do soups or sauces specifically, because I really like using the cap for that, I'll use this. I'll link everything in the description down below, including another grinder that I have used and really like but haven't tested. It's got a plastic casing, and so it's a bit on the cheaper side. I also have a 10% off for the Mannkitchen Cannon grinders. I don't have anything for the Weber Workshops Moulin. I purchased this with my own money when this was released on Kickstarter for less than it is now. This one, Mannkitchen reached out. They offered me this to review, especially because they knew I had this one. I still have both on my counter. And am I a little crazy for having both? Absolutely, yeah, no. It's not everybody though that's gonna spend this money on a pepper and salt grinder, but this isn't for everybody. This is, if you love cooking, if you love quality products, this is gonna be it. It's a lot to have 2 sets of the most expensive pepper and salt grinders on my counter. Trust me, my friends, they make comments about that. I figured with time, I'll know which one I'll wanna put away. I think if you were to get either of them, you'd be happy. You wouldn't even think about it. Don't rewatch this video if that's the case. If you got this and you like it, don't rewatch this video. Don't go in that dark space. But because I have both on my counter, I thought, hey, one of them will be more obvious to me, which one will stand out more and I could easily recommend. Honestly, no, because I still do use both for different occasions. Could I just use one set and just use that for everything? Absolutely, I have. I used to have this one and just use this. When I got this one, I put this away somewhere so I wouldn't use it and exclusively use this. And it wasn't like I felt like anything was lacking. So which one would you get? I'm curious actually to hear in the comments from all of y'all, but I think it really depends on what your priorities are. If it's power, go for the Moulin for sure. If it's finesse and fine tuning and just like ease of crank, you don't want to think about it too much and you don't care about the adjustment dial and this aesthetic pleases you more, go for the Cannon. If you're on a budget and you were to get one singular one, I would just suggest get the Mannkitchen pepper grinder. That's all you need. You don't need the salt one, but I do like sets personally. And then being able to cook and use them for both and for toppings and for everything, for finishing. So the things that you have to factor in are obviously budget and then aesthetic and then how are you going to use it. This cap does change how you can cook and you can also use this as a traditional grinder. I mean, this one also, but at the same time, do you really need the cup? Because you could easily just grind into a bowl when necessary if you just need to grind a bunch, which is what I do with this cap. And then I have one hand that's dirty that's manipulating the steak and the other one can just do all of the sprinkling. But I can easily replicate the cup functionality with the Moulin or with any salt and pepper mill. So it's a hard decision on which one to get. I know a lot of people that I did this review for bought this one because I can see that people have bought this. I don't have anything to track for this, so I don't know if people bought this. Be curious to hear from you in the comments. Do chime in, and please do like this video if it helps you. It will help other people. It'll help feed the algorithm. If you're really still unsure as watch, both the reviews that I did on these, you can check that video out here and here, and you'll be able to maybe get a better idea of which one you would use for different use cases.